Hi everyone, welcome to week 7. The semester's just flying past, isn't it? Today or this week we're looking at training to win in PER2202, athlete development across the lifespan. Basically when we talk training to win, we're looking at our elite athletes, whether they be full-time professional athletes or our Olympic athletes, all aiming to basically win, as it says, of course, but to succeed they need to achieve personal bests every time. So we're looking at developing elite performance in elite athletes. So once again, we'll have a look at a bit of share. And so this should now be coming to you live. I'll just have a quick check. Yep, it is. Okay, now, so we're sitting there training to win. Basically, when we're looking at these people, we're talking primarily about our male and female athletes just out of school, 18 to 19. Of course, if there are early specialisation sports such as gymnastics, they're probably in their early teens. But for late specialisation, or the majority of sports, we will be talking about 18 to 19 plus. Predominantly, they go up to about 28 to 30 years before they start entering their twilight eras. Some sports, they've extended that life with things such as interchange. Now, what we really do need to look at with this is what is it in particular about these athletes to do. Now, the first thing, here's our mate, Usain Bolt, 3 times 100-meter Olympic gold medalist, 200-meter gold medalist, 4x100-meter relay gold medalist. What we have to understand is with these athletes is the law of diminishing returns. We're not going to get a vast array of improvement from most athletes. They may have particular weaknesses, but generally speaking, they've reached their genetic potential. Usain Bolt, if he's to set a personal best, he will probably increase his speed by perhaps 1/100th of a second. So as you can see, they've got to the point where their development or their improvement cannot go much further, as opposed to a novice athlete or a recreational athlete whose fitness and strength, power, agility will develop significantly. And so it is basically, we're looking about the law of diminishing returns. Now, if we sit there and have a look at these things with them, they live excellence. And everyone in the organisation. So in other words, it's a case of everyone's positive, everyone's about success, the whole people. For the players, they need excellence in their preparation on field and off field. So it's not just what they do, but what the support staff, the coaching staff provide for them. They also will have a greater control of what they do away from training to ensure that they maintain their physical requirements, social situations, personal lifestyles. For coaches, this means excellence in planning, preparation, communication, and leadership. So in other words, when you're dealing with these guys, you're not walking in ad hoc and running a system that's been developed, programmed, planned with everything into account. It has to be flexible and viable because there are going to be times when things are going to change. Injuries will change, performance will drop, conditions. You rock up to your oval to find out that the watering system's burst and you've now got a swimming pool where there used to be a rugby league field. So these things, you have to be flexible and be able to adjust on the road, but primarily we set it well in advance. Not an entire year, but you would probably have at least a month in advance each step of the way. The coach-athlete relationship is the main man, Mr. Wayne Bennett's, okay, fundamental. The relationship that a coach develops with his athletes and his charges will more than likely set an athlete up for success rather than if there's a continual conflict. There will always be exceptions, but predominantly it's about self-esteem, behaviour and performance. That facet that the coach talks about with the success and instilling that in their players to take ownership of it, to ensure they have confidence but not overly confident, that their behaviour and performance match what they're supposed to deliver. Now, the role of the coach, okay, to come of it, coaches were effectively able to deal with crisis situations. Coaches kept things simple and focused. So this of our Olympic athletes, 1996 was the Atlanta Games. Realistic expectations for their team's performance. So their coach was realistic. If you were going to win the comp, that's fine. But if you know at best you're going to make it to the first round, then they're realistic about you. They're not putting big things. That comes down to learning to trust. If your coach comes around and tells you, oh yeah, you're going to win this, and then you get beaten, they go, that's all right, they're always better than you, then any future trust you have with that coach will be lost. But this is another one is the coach is committed to helping, so the coach or the athlete sees the coach is there for them. And again, finally, the coach has implemented a clear performance plan. So there will be a lot of consultation with their players or coaches or athletes about what they're doing and how they're going to achieve it. Now, learning to win monitoring, this probably comes easier for the learning to win if they're full-time academy, full-time elite athletes, as opposed to your semi-pro or developing where they've got a lot of other things in their life, whether it be work, study, family commitments. You're going to have individualized testing and screening because remember, each athlete is going to have various strengths and weaknesses, so we test that's applicable to those athletes. Across sports, various sports will have their test battery that they will use, so we have to ensure that we've got an appropriate test battery to use for an athlete that is appropriate for their sport, or in team sport, their position. At this thing, they want to have access to the facilities and technologies. They want to know what their competition schedule is and how often testing and screening is going to be. What are some forms of, now if we were to think of it, just jot down or just run through your head probably, how to monitor everything, what sort of things do we do? So jot it down, it's probably half a dozen. Okay, now you're supposed to be talking back to me, so this really doesn't work in an online capability, but anyhow. All right, the plus, periodized recovery. This is the one thing we want to do. We need to have periodized recovery. Completion planning of recovery, fine-tuning, major input into the recovery program, variation in strategies. Now, despite the extensive amount of work and that goes into recovery, there is no real evidence to suggest that any recovery practice is better than another in physical recovery at this stage, despite what a lot of people think. So what we can look at, however, is primarily they're looking at athletes' perceptions, and the belief is that if an athlete feels that they recover, feels that it's beneficial, then they will see it as beneficial to do. So you may have to have a variation in recovery strategies across athletes, whether that be a stretch, a massage, or an ice bath. We need to develop the 5 S's: strength, speed, suppleness, stamina, and skill. All capacities are fully trained. Focus of training to optimize these performances. So you're fine-tuning, no different than your car and it's running well, but you just put in, you give a bit of a tinker, the same with these athletes. You reduce the training volumes during competitions. Doesn't necessarily mean you reduce the intensity. In some cases, you may reduce the volumes, but pump the intensity up. Recovery protocols, short rest periods, prophylactic breaks implemented to help prevent burnout. So every now and then, especially if they have a light session, it's a good idea to get your players to do something totally different, away from their sport, away from their, to give them as much mental refreshment. We talk about overtraining, and everyone seems to think it's a physiological component, and there is some area of it that is physiological. But the major with burnout, athlete burnout, is it's psychological, it's mental. They get stale, they get bored. So just bringing in something different every now and then will actually enhance and improve their overall commitment. If they have a bye because of rep seasons, if they have a week off, sometimes it's a good, don't give them a week off, but come into training, but okay, we're going to play a different game. We're going to go for a swim, do something totally different, just box and beat each other up. Something like that takes their mental stress and mental strain away from their thought process for their game, even if it's only for a short period of time, can be very much beneficial. So example, English rugby. Focus of training shifted optimization, individual fitness programs, refined core skills, high degree of decision-making, leadership, mental self-motivation, hours per week, 22.5 hours, rugby specific. So if we break that into 6 days, and one of those days may be a 5-hour game day, we still have 17 hours across 5 days. Things like teams run, or captains run as they call it. We'll have gym sessions, probably 2 gym sessions, and we'll probably have 3 to 4 field sessions. So as you can see, that's what we're looking for as a component in an athlete development. That's how much they put into it. Okay, our overall players, they've got to look at their physical capability. We've got to develop their mental capacity. And this comes to a needs analysis. What's their strength? What's their weakness? Quite often people will do what they're good at and will shy away from what they're not good at. The elite athletes will look at what they're weak at or not good at and try to improve that, whether it's physical, mental. It includes technical and tactical. Everything's focused around applying the skill, acquisition of the skill and delivering the skill, and the competitive strategies. It can be those mind battles that they have for themselves. So there was one story, I think it was Timmy Brasher always had trouble under the high ball in rugby league. This going back 80s, early 90s, I believe, for you youngsters. And whenever the ball went up high, quite often he would drop the ball. He spoke to a sports psychologist, and they suggested, I don't know, I call that voodoo science, but they suggested instead of talking about, oh, don't drop it, just start telling yourself, catch the ball, catch the ball, catch the ball. And that mental note changed his ability, and his performance under the high ball improved greatly. So there's all these sorts of things that we can, sport-specific skills, ability, improvise with skills, and overall strategies within the game, without the game. And then their lifestyle, and this is sort of something that people will start talking about. They've got to get away from it, increase knowledge of all areas. It's no good being committed and totally to football with no other outlet. Family, whether it be wives, children, parents, brothers, sisters, or friends. Rest, relaxation, they've got to get the breaks. Self-monitoring, professional athletes should have this. However, the young athletes need to be taught this. Less often than not, it is you don't find too many senior football players get in trouble. Not all the case, but it's generally the younger players. So this needs to be something that we need to be identified and develop. But also we look at their career and sport planning sustained. How can we make sure they keep into it, and what can we allow for these players once they end? Because remember, even at elite level, you only have a very narrow window in most cases, and it could be anywhere from 5 to 8 years where you're at the elite level in a lot of sports. When you're living for 80 years, that leaves you, and post-game, you've still got 45 years post-football of living. So quite often we need to manage in advance the transition phase. A lot of players do have a trouble adapting to life after sport. And that's where it comes to with the end. So very quickly, we'll stop sharing out of this. So yes, when we talk about, oh, come on, come back, camera. Am I still there? Can you see me? Well, you can hear me, so I'll keep talking. So hopefully that's what we'll do for now. You are screen sharing. Stop. Thought I cancelled that. Silly technology. Anyhow, so yeah, with Training to Win, it's the goal to work with these people. I've had some brief exposure with working with elite level rugby union. One of the things that you will find is, despite what people think, these guys will do whatever they are told to do. They're very professional and they'll apply it. They will question it. They will ask for it. And provided you can come across with these sections. Now, these are the guys, females and male athletes, who are there to win. We're not talking about participating anymore. We're there to win. And we must direct and deliver a performance program that delivers that. And it's got to be from no matter what facet you have, whether you're the head coach, the nutritionist, the sports psychologist, the strength and conditioner, the physio, everything's about giving them the best practice to ensure. All right, guys, now that's what it comes down to with our LTAD. Hopefully you guys will be getting your videos to me shortly of your training plans. I believe you uploaded your training plans last Sunday, they were due. Hopefully I'll see those again. All right, guys, well, that's it for today. Short, sweet, and in the bag. Training to Win. If you get to train with these guys, life is good. If you don't, doesn't matter. It's still fun. All right, guys, until next week, be good, be safe. Talk to you soon.